I've always wanted to do this. Mjolnir to me! It's a lot smaller than they make it out in the movies. Hey guys, it's me, Shinobi Nando, and welcome to another review, and today I'm doing Marvel's Avengers. Hence the bathrobe. Marvel's Avengers is the new game by Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. It's kind of one of these new MMO-lite, multiplayer, co-op, looter, shooter, but brawler type deal. I don't know really what to call this. It does have a really good story though. This game opens up fantastically. We're introduced to this world through the eyes of Kamala Khan as she makes her way to the newly christened headquarters of the Avengers, the Chimera, on A-Day, where she's won a fan fiction competition. This was an amazing choice to have us play as Kamala, as a little girl going around this festival. We really do get to see the world through the eyes of a child, and that's really good for new players coming into it. She's a brilliant character because she's so enthusiastic and so excited to be here, and that really helps sell the world to the player. Wandering around this celebration as Kamala and seeing all the Avengers up close and personal and seeing her excitement actually brought a smile to my own face. One of my favorite parts of this story as well is that the Avengers are already pre-established and have been for years and years. You could tell this by wandering around on A-Day. There's video games, there's comics. This universe seems to kind of borrow the better parts of the boys universe, where they know that they have to, use marketing and advertising. But as usual, tragedy ensues, the Terrigen reactor explodes, etc., exposition, and superpowers. Kamala is a great choice as the starter character and the heart of this story. Seeing her slowly learn to control her powers and become an Avenger was a brilliant way of allowing the player to learn and experience the world without forced exposition. The story really picks up when Kamala learns that all may not be what it seems on A-Day and goes out to try to prove the Avengers' innocence. I don't want to reveal too much of the story, but just saying that there are some absolutely brilliant set pieces in this. And it might surprise you, there's actually a ton of exploration in this game. I mean, this is Crystal Dynamics who made the Tomb Raider games. I was actually surprised. I thought this was going to be very combat focused, and the beta didn't do the story justice. There'll be large sections as Kamala where you're simply just exploring the world. One of my favorite set pieces, and again, I don't want to give away too much, is when you go and find Tony Stark at his ancestral home. There's a fun little section where Tony's out of suit and he has to quickly go and grab piece by piece. And it's a really fun, it's actually one of my favorite missions, and the cutscenes in this game are phenomenal. The voice acting is incredible. We'll get more into that in the audio section of the game, but rest assured that I know a few people were worried again from the beta that the voice acting was a bit off or not as great. All the actors do a brilliant job. The story is really well told. I get that some people are frustrated this isn't the MCU, but I would say that the story is at least MCU movie quality. Now, I'm not talking about something like Infinity War, but it's definitely up there with the other Avenger movies. A lot of this story is told by its visuals, and I think that's a really nice way of doing it rather than just having loads of text and lore spoken at you. Now, this game, despite its initial trailers making it kind of look a bit Lord Farquaad-y, especially Widow apparently kind of looked, like Prince Charming and characters from Shrek. I mean, they both have a big green monster, so there's that. The visuals in this game are really stunning. I found it looked best on, obviously, PC and Xbox One X. Although it does look still really good on the base consoles, there is those kind of awkward moments. You can tell that the consoles are now starting to struggle, and the fact that these are getting a free upgrade to next gen even is kind of telling. Some of the in-engine cutscenes look a bit daft on the older consoles. It runs really well on the Pro and the Xbox One X. You can get up to 60 frames. On the older consoles, you're going to suffer a lot of frame rate drops and performance issues. Now, the overall look of the world is actually really fantastic. They did a great job of making their own kind of unique look to some of these characters. Hulk in particular looks really awesome. I think when you see close-ups of him, like the details, the muscles, the bulging, saliva dripping out of him, they did an amazing job at bringing it around from that first trailer. Now, the audio in this game, I can't talk too much about. I'm not really an audio guy when it comes to music. There are things that I notice, like if a score matches it. But what I'm going to focus on in this review is more the sound effects and things like that, and the voice acting. Starting with the voice acting, this is brilliant. I know people had their reservations, especially as Nolan North was playing Tony Stark, but actually he makes a really good Tony Stark, and I think people need to, you know, get off his back. Just because he played Deadpool, he also played Nathan Drake, who's also a very similar character and attitude to Tony. This is also a younger Tony, a much younger Tony than the MCU, so I think he fits it really well. Troy Baker does a stand-up job as Bruce Banner. I really liked his take on Bruce Banner, the kind of super genius, awkward stumbling. I know you could kind of say Mark Ruffalo did that, but I think Troy does it a bit better.
Dr. Banner?
Oh, no. Highway 9, Highway 9 is about 20 miles to Highway 9. If you take Highway 9, you go to the bus stop, then you probably could just do...
What are you talking about?
I've spent a lot of time as the big guy. So
Kamala's voice actor is brilliant. Really grabs that teenage nerdy enthusiasm, and Laura Bailey is always great as Black Widow. She played him in the Avengers cartoons, if you didn't know. And Hulk is Hulk. Hulk is Hulk. Hulk is Hulk. Some people have a problem with Thor's voice actor. Again, I don't know if I'm used to it because I did watch the cartoons when I was younger. And again, when, you know, we all got bored with quarantine. I don't know who does Cap's voice, but I like his voice.
Thanks.
I'm guessing you're a Captain Marvel fan. She's off planet, but she would have liked to meet you.
Sorry, you're Captain America. I'm Kamala. Kamala Khan.
Khan. Your story had the evil sewer...
The sewer lizards, yeah.
Yeah. Thor really got a kick out of that one.
Moving away from the voice acting, if we go into the sound effects of this game, my God, did they capture this right. Everything sounds just as you think it would. I don't know if they got the licensing off Disney to use the sound effects from the films, but it is damn near close. Every woom woom as like Mjolnir's coming back and smacking and you're twirling it up and throwing it. Cap's shield as it ricochets off people and walls and everything, and then he kicks it back and sends it back out. Oh, they got it right. The impact noises, the repulsor blast, everything is just spot on. A really good job with the sound effects in this game. Now it does have some like music because just like the MCU, artists exist like Sia and Elton John, and there's a few gags about that. But again, I'm not really a music guy. I don't know. I'm just not. So we'll move on. Now the combat is simplistic but also very deep and nuanced. You start off with your basic light, heavy, guard, parry, block, ranged attack, and you also have something called an intrinsic meter that does something different for each character. Even though they all have that core gameplay, each character actually plays really differently, especially when you level them up. You have ranged characters like Black Widow and Iron Man who can swap modes. Black Widow can go from submachine guns to a burst fire, double handguns to a high caliber round, while Iron Man goes from his traditional repulsors to his lasers, which is ripped straight out of the MCU again, to missiles. Not only that, you have your core combinations that are same across most characters: dodge and then quickly counterattack, light, heavy. But each one of these does something different for each character. For instance, Iron Man can either do a repulsor blast on the ground and knock people back, or punch someone in the gut and fire a missile directly into their stomach and send them flying away. Hulk has a unique mechanic where you can grab people and smash them. You can actually even grab two and swing them around like nunchucks. And Cap's combat's obviously focused very much on the fact that, you know, he throws his shield, it bounces back, he can kick it back out at enemies, he can, you know, smack it and cause a vibranium shockwave. And Thor Thor's just a beast with that lightning. I mean, it's exactly how Mjolnir should feel. You spin it, you hit people, it pins them against the wall, it can break shields. I was really worried that, you know, the characters wouldn't feel right, but Hulk absolutely clears mobs, and Thor's hammer will just pierce through anyone and pin him against. You can pin people against the wall and just take out like a troublesome enemy. What's really cool about the combat is the secondary and the mastery skills, which can change the abilities completely. A good example of this is Black Widow, where she can change her Widow Bites into kind of a shock punch, or Iron Man, instead of overcharging his arc reactor, can deploy a shield. There's just a lot of depth to this combat system. It is really fun. However, here is where we start to get to some problems. Number one, the missions are generic. I don't mean the story missions. I don't even mean the iconic story missions. Those are really good. The iconic story missions are a specific character that the host is forced to play as. And it does have a story arc. It has cutscenes and everything. There's full-on cutscenes. One of my favorites, again, is Hulk's. They're fully voice acted and everything. And they often end with a kind of boss battle. But that, again, that's another problem. Enemy diversity. It's a catch-22. The enemies are incredibly diverse, but they're all robots. And I get it in one instance, but in practice, it's just kind of dull. I mean, the MCU has such a diverse universe of characters and enemies that I know the main enemy is AIM, and they're obviously going to use their adaptoids and synthoids, but it does get kind of like boring. It's kind of like fighting zombies. These robots are like zombies. They make sense in the fact that they're cannon fodder, so like people like the Hulk can just rip them in half and smash them and shatter them, but this is kind of dull. At launch, there was only 4 villains. 2 of them are giant robots. I'm not going to spoil who the other ones are, although you could probably guess from the beta. And while the giant robots are fun because they have kind of like a Shadow of Colossus like mechanic where you have to climb them and destroy specific parts, this game is definitely going to need those content drops to come out very frequently. I don't know. I'm having fun with it now. It's just I've been playing a lot of it, and I am getting a little concerned. The environments are not entertaining to explore except for very specific ones. And there's the vaults. The vaults are pretty interesting. They kind of add a new layer of mechanics. The Hive missions are actually just kind of like multiple drop zone, that's what they're called, drop zone. They're kind of quick 5-minute missions where you just have an objective along with a horde of enemies. And they're good for leveling up, I'll say that. This is where, again, the game gets let down. It's just the multiplayer aspect is fun. It's incredibly fun with friends, especially when you have a fully leveled up team doing crazy moves, as I described in the combat section. But yeah, the maps, it gets to a point where I see optional objectives now, and I kind of skip them and just, you know, I want to get to the big battle because it's always the same. It's find a chest, fight an elite enemy that has a blue shield on it, knock it down, or it's rescue someone, which involves doing a small puzzle, a very basic puzzle, and then just saying hello to him, and it gets teleported out. So my final verdict on this game is that while the main campaign is brilliant and worth a purchase, in my opinion, if you're a huge Marvel fan on its own, the multiplayer is fun but dull. It doesn't have, the environments don't have what Destiny has, where the grind can get repetitive and dull in that game as well, but the environments are interesting and inviting for exploration. These are kind of cool the first time around, and then it's just a forest with some AIM buildings. It's just snowy tundra with some AIM buildings. It's just something with an AIM building. They can fix this. This is a live service game. They can definitely add in Hydra, Asgard. At this moment in time, I'm going to give the game, I'm going to go with 7.5 out of 10. The story is brilliant. The combat seems simplistic, but actually quite deep. It's really fun to play with your friends co-op. It's ridiculously fun to play co-op. The voice acting and the sound effects are great. However, the the actual missions are dull. AIM is a boring enemy, a very boring enemy type. They need more villains. They have missions called out villain encounters, and you only have 2 true villains and the other 2 are 2 giant robots. Man, there's so many characters they could have used. I mean, even if they just used some of them from the MCU, Ironmonger or Whiplash or just anyone, you got so many characters you can use. But other than that, guys, that is my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did you pick the game up? Do you agree with me? Do you have the same concerns? Again, this game is a live service. It will evolve over time, so it's really, really hard to review it now. So my score is mainly based off of what I've played now, the post-game campaign and the main campaign. It gets most of its points from the main campaign and the combat, I'm not going to lie. But we'll have to see in the future, especially as they're introducing things like raids and stuff like that. Guys, do me a huge favor, give this video a like if you found it useful, if you found it informative, if it helped you with your decision on whether or not you're going to pick up this game. I would say if you're a Marvel fan, it's definitely a day one purchase. If you're not, maybe wait until the first content drop. And don't forget to see my Hulk bobblehead and my Thor's hammer in my collector's edition unboxing of the Earth's Mightiest Edition. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. I was gonna do the thing, but it's a key ring, and this is so heavy that I'm actually worried that's gonna pull it off. So no.